Hello. In this clip from our Justia webinar, Virtual Isolation, is hyperconnectivity helping or harming the legal professional? Brian Quinn discusses major problems faced by attorneys and legal professionals due to hyperconnectivity. If you want to see more Justia videos on law practice or legal marketing, be sure you're subscribed to our channel.
There is no question that the problems in our profession, frankly, are significant. We lawyers have been at risk to develop problems for many years now. The types of problems that I have on the screen right now, certainly long before the impact of COVID-19 was felt. These are not things that are just a couple of years old. I would say the presenting issues have changed a little bit, and that's what this program is really all about, is virtual isolation and hyperconnectivity. And there's certainly been a big impact on that with respect to the imposed isolation and the quarantine of the COVID-19 pandemic. But these are problems that have existed in the legal profession for many years. Mental health issues, stress, anxiety, depression, burnout, vicarious or secondary trauma, sometimes known as compassion fatigue. Aside from the, let's say, traditional, and I only say that because many people feel that lawyers' assistance programs only help someone with an alcohol or substance use problem. That is not correct. I can tell you that many states have reported that their presenting issues have changed dramatically in the last few years. Lawyers felt much more comfortable talking about drinking. Alcohol is legal. It's socially acceptable, very socially acceptable in our profession. And lawyers would often call, and still do, saying, well, I think maybe I have a drinking problem, or some people think that I need to get a little help, or maybe I need to cut back a little bit. I don't know. But you know what they didn't want to talk about? Why they were drinking. What was it that they were using alcohol for? Was there something else going on? And lawyers don't like to talk about those other things because that may mean discussing mental health. Shh. We can't talk about that. What do people say? It's one thing to have someone know that maybe I have a couple of drinks too many, a couple of times too often, but I'm not going to talk about my mental health. Then what will they think about me? And that's been a problem for a long time. And I'm happy to tell you that it's changing. The percentage of lawyers that are calling with a primary presenting issue that deals with mental health is on the rise. Now, that doesn't mean that necessarily the prevalence rates have dramatically increased to that extent. It means that people are willing to talk about it. So let's talk about some of these problems. This is one of the things that I need to begin with, because no matter whether we talk about mental health or substance use disorders, lawyers and non-lawyers are not on equal footing. We don't all start off at ground zero together. Unfortunately, lawyers already, and have for many years, had higher prevalence rates of issues dealing with their mental health and substance use. This is a slide that gives us the findings of Patrick Krill, a lawyer and a certified drug and alcohol counselor, who back in 2015 was asked by the American Bar Association to perform really what was the first scientific study of its type that dealt with alcohol use and substance use and mental health issues in the legal profession. Mr. Krill was associated with the Hazelden Betty Ford Foundation at the time of this study. As I said, he's a lawyer and a certified drug and alcohol counselor. So he utilized those skills to formulate a series of questions that he posed to approximately 13,000 lawyers. 19 different states were covered by this survey. He got the results back. He didn't just take them at face value and accept them as self-reporting this problem or that problem and kind of checking off the box. Okay, one for anxiety, one for stress. No, he took them. First of all, he formulated them in a way that was similar to the types of questions one would ask in a clinical setting. Then he analyzed them in the same way. He used the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual, the DSM, that it's used by medical professionals to diagnose and treat people with disorders of this type. And when he did that, he saw his results and he declared them to be incompatible with a sustainable professional culture. And one of the reasons he said that is on the screen right now. He found that 28%, by the way, remember 2015, the study, 28% of all lawyers suffer from depression, not the ups and downs of everyday life, the mood swings that we all have. Okay. This was 28% of the lawyers would qualify for a clinical depression diagnosis. 23% stress disorder, anxiety disorder, 19%. Higher rates than those among younger lawyers, 30 years of age and younger, or those in their first 5 years of practice. He did a similar study on alcohol use and found that 21% of all lawyers are problem drinkers. That means they drink to the point of it being hazardous or even alcohol dependent. Alcohol dependency, 21%. I know, yeah, those young lawyers in that category of alcohol use, a third of the lawyers 30 years of age and younger were problem drinkers. 1/3. It's a lot of lawyers. So what's that? How's that compared to non-lawyers? Depression, 7% of our population suffers from clinical depression. 1/4 the percentage of lawyers. 7%, 28%. Alcohol, problem drinking, 6.4%. In the profession, 21%. So we don't start with the same basis as the non-lawyer. So when things like a pandemic and imposed quarantine and other issues start to come up, we don't all react as we're already elevated. Okay. So we've got to keep that in mind. You know, there's no question now that we're a few years down the road from the pandemic, the onset of the pandemic. I think it's pretty safe to say that it's accurate to refer to it as a collective, societal, even a generational traumatic event. And I can assure you that trauma is part of the causes of depression. We're noticing a lot of callers who are experiencing grief and the symptoms of grief. And that's a normal response to loss during and after a disaster or other traumatic event. And it's not just a response to loss of life. It's also a response to the drastic changes to our daily routines and ways of life that usually brought us feelings of comfort and stability. And of course, now that we're using virtual tools more often, that impacted us as well. Many of us sought out other things that would substitute for those losses, that person-to-person contact. And sometimes that can lead to some other problems that I'm going to talk about right now. There have been other surveys. Obviously, we know that there's been many studies. We were able to find 24 studies that documented that quarantined people developed symptoms of low mood, anxiety, and depressive disorders. That a vast majority of people feel that it seriously hurt their daily lives and it had a negative impact on their mental well-being. It's I think fairly common to find these kinds of findings. And lawyers and trauma often it doesn't really mean physical, personal trauma. What we have to remember is that we can often experience distressing or disturbing experiences and emotional upset because of the work that we do with the clients who have been traumatized. That's where that secondary or vicarious trauma comes into play. And it can develop into something that's called compassion fatigue. These are all topics that, frankly, I could spend an entire hour on.
Thanks for watching. We hope you enjoyed this video. And if you did enjoy it, please hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more law practice and legal marketing videos. See you in our next clip.